The Nazis built 6 underwater bunkers during the war, and some of them are still active. The walls tremble. The hidden mechanisms of the machine rumble around us, muted like distant thunder. All 6 of us are gently swayed, acutely aware of the vibrations. "It sounds so far away," Simon mutters in his thick Polish accent. I glance up at him. Kim responds with a nervous chuckle. I was just thinking the same thing. The two exchange a smile. Reassurance, I suppose. She gives me a quick look, then adjusts her weapon. I raise a hand to my forehead, wiping away a thin sheen of sweat. Before this mission began, I didn't tell the others just how intense my claustrophobia is. I grimace, glancing around at the windowless walls of the submarine, trying hard not to think about the crushing weight of the water above us, growing heavier by the minute as we sink deeper into the Atlantic. 10 minutes till docking, crackles a distorted voice through the overhead speaker, followed by the dull flash of a red light. An invisible wave of tension sweeps through the cabin like gas, and I scratch my jaw, unsettled. It stinks in here. The air reeks of stagnant pool water and sweat laced with a metallic edge. Shimon slips off his glasses and rubs them against the fabric of his fatigues with little effect. He mutters something in Polish before sliding them back onto his nose. We come from very different backgrounds, the 6 of us, but we all serve at the same NATO barracks on the German border. Nearly time now, says the man to my left. Blaine, a Scotsman who shares my quarters. Let's get this fucking show on the road, shall we? I raise my eyebrows and give him a faint, grim smile. No one replies. Next to him is Rudy, an American who never misses a chance in his German ancestry, even though his last name is O'Reilly. I always find that a bit funny. I'm married to a German myself, a wonderful woman named Nina. Of our group, only Kim and Manny are actually German. Kim's a good friend of Nina's, though I don't know her particularly well. I see her around the barracks, but we don't have much in common. When we do talk, it's usually about my wife, our one shared connection outside of military life. Kim likes to joke that she knows Nina better than I do. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Still, she's kind enough. Seated next to her is the other German, Manny. Fast asleep. He's the oldest among us. His grandfather, as it happens, was involved in running the installations we're about to investigate. I don't know how he manages to sleep at a time like this, but he's a tough old bastard. I glance down at my boots and focus on the mission ahead. Exit the submarine. Enter the bunker. Gather intel. Report back. Simple enough, in theory. But this so-called bunker is one of several relics from the Second World War, generously left behind by the Nazis. They rest in near inaccessible darkness at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. There are few photographs of these bunkers, and the ones that do exist make it hard to judge their scale. But by all accounts, they're colossal. Vast structures of concrete, steel, and who knows what else, sprawled in a rough half circle near the gateway to the Mediterranean. Earlier today, the 6 of us departed from Geilenkirchen, transferred onto this sub at Lisa Naval Base, and it's been a long, grim westward journey ever since. Every team that's been dispatched to the bunkers has returned with the same report. No threat, nothing of significance, and no reason for further action. Since the bunkers aren't leaking anything toxic or causing a strategic issue, NATO has mostly left them alone. Operations to demolish or clean them up are costly and slow, and frankly, there are always more urgent matters. But someone at NATO HQ must have noticed how long it's been since the last check-in, probably made some noise about it. Papers shuffled, orders given, and here we are. Descending. Down, down, down into the abyss. I try not to dwell on the cramped metal shell of the submarine. I silently pray that once inside the bunker, there will be more space to move and to breathe. The little red light beside the speaker flares on again. This time, the voice comes through louder, punctuated by sharp electronic static. 5 minutes to go, it announces, making me jump. Manny bolts upright with a gasp, frightened out of sleep. He coughs out a name I don't recognize, something strange and meaningless to me. Friedrich! He cries into the gloom, stumbling to his feet in a panic. His legs crack audibly as he moves. Jesus, Simon mutters, pressing a hand to his chest. Scared the life out of me. All eyes in the sub turn to Manny, wary. This isn't the first time he's had one of these episodes. Friedrich, he murmurs again, blinking at the rest of us, his face blank with confusion. Kim reaches up and touches his arm gently. The dreams again, Manny? She asks, coaxing him gently back down. Manny just stares at her for a moment before giving in, slowly sinking back onto the bench. He rubs at the gray at his temples with a weary hand. Yes, he replies in German. Yes, apologies. I don't know what comes over me. They've been getting worse. What was it this time? Kim asks softly. He shakes his head. It's already fading, but I think it was similar to the others. The people I saw in the dream, I've never met them. I don't remember ever seeing them. Not in this life, but in the dream I knew them, all of them. They were important to me. We were in a field of tall grass, and there was a young man, Friedrich. He was going off to war. Kim bites the inside of her cheek, thinking it over. I don't think I expected him to come back, Manny adds quietly, just as the submarine gives another low rumble. I knew he was being sent to his death. They're connected to your grandfather, Kim says, as if convinced. I'm sure of it. That's why the dreams are intensifying. Ever since you volunteered for this mission, your subconscious knows you're getting closer to him, to the place he worked. Load of bull crap, Rudy cuts in, flopping forward over his rifle. His hair falls into his face as he leans in. Kim, you've got to drop this supernatural crap. It's all in your head, Manny. Actually, Kim was right a second ago. It's all in your subconscious. Just forget it. Probably some buried Nazi guilt or whatever. He jabs a finger toward Manny and furrows his brow. Like I've said before, you're not responsible for anything your granddaddy did, even if he was some SS officer or whatever. Manny exhales slowly and pulls a handkerchief from his pocket to dab his forehead. I'm quite aware of that, he replies dryly. My grandfather was not in the SS, but I appreciate your enthusiasm. Damn straight, Rudy says, leaning back in his seat with a satisfied grunt. Blaine and I exchange a glance. I can at least partially relate to Manny's internal conflict. About his grandfather, I mean. My wife shares that same legacy. Her great-grandfather was apparently a close colleague of Manny's. They worked together extensively, or so the records say. Prepare for docking, crackles the voice over the speaker. For a moment, the light inside the submarine flickers, plunging us into a brief, sickly darkness. I suppress a shiver as we begin final preparations to disembark. All around us, the submarine's hum rises and falls, louder, then softer. Louder and softer. The engine growls to its loudest since we left Lisbon port, then quiets into a low, steady murmur beneath our feet. Blaine gets to his feet. Let's take a look then. The first bunker. Think we'll find anything fun? Simon stands up beside him, stretching his arms. Highly unlikely. They recon this place every 10 years or so, and they've never brought back anything of value. I expect a bunch of dusty old Nazi ruins, nothing more. You don't find that interesting? I ask as I gear up to disembark. Morbid, yeah? But not even a little curious? Simon lets out a grunt of disgust and mutters something under his breath. I don't care for the droppings of vermin, he replies curtly, turning away. The cynic in me notices a quick glance he casts toward Manny as he speaks. That part of me is quick to jump to grim conclusions, but that wouldn't be fair. Simon's a decent man, steady, hard-working. Blaine leads the way through the submarine's narrow interior, heading toward the ladders. Simon follows him. Rudy trails behind, brushing his hair from his face with a flick of his head. Then comes Kim and Manny. As Manny passes me, he places a hand on my shoulder and offers a tired smile. I return it with a nod. With a deep breath, I say a silent goodbye to this cramped, stifling room, if only for a while. I'm eager for just a bit more space, a bit more air. One by one, we climb the ladders and emerge through the circular hatch at the top of the sub. I suck in a full breath, the cold air biting. I squint into the darkness and fumble for my flashlight, clicking it on. Its golden beam joins the others in piercing the gloom. We're standing on the cold metal shell of the submarine, which juts out of the Black Sea like some iron leviathan. Waves lap hungrily against its sides. Ahead of us lies a steel rail and a vast concrete platform that stretches into shadow. From the inside, the bunker resembles an immense hangar. Kim taps my shoulder and gestures up toward the back wall near the ceiling. I follow her gaze, raising my beam. Our lights reveal a massive eagle carved into a slab of stone, embedded in concrete. It's angular, harsh, regal, and it perches atop a monstrous swastika. Saman crosses himself and spits into the sea. Then, without hesitation, he takes a few quick strides and leaps from the submarine's roof onto the concrete platform, his boots scraping the side as he goes. He pulls himself up using the steel railing. We listen to the echo of his steps as he searches for the control panel, the mechanism that releases a bridge for the rest of us to cross safely. It was in the briefing file. Shouldn't be too difficult to locate. I glance down into the water below. The air is thick with the scent of salt. I can't stop my mind from drifting, just for a moment, to the thought of slipping, of falling silently into that black, gently rippling water. Its surface is soft, almost inviting, a lie. Beneath it lies the cold, crushing terror of the depths, an icy pool that wouldn't let go. I shiver and tear my eyes away. A few quiet moments pass. Then, with the mechanical clatter of gears and springs, the bridge begins to extend, slowly reaching out from the concrete platform toward the top of the submarine. Blaine steps onto it first, testing it with deliberate weight. Then, one by one, we follow, crossing the narrow bridge and joining Saman on solid ground. We begin moving across the concrete floor, heading toward the far end of the hangar. The double doors are distant shadows, tall and gridded, like a massive iron mouth waiting in the gloom. Even surrounded by my team, I feel small, insignificant almost. This place has a presence, an eerie, suffocating weight that presses down on the soul. "This is a sick place," Manny mutters. His voice is low, almost reverent. A flashlight beam passes over his face, catching a strange glint in his eyes. "Do you feel it, Oliver?" I hesitate, then nod. "Yes, there's something wrong here. I can't explain it yet, but it's here, settling into my chest like dust in the lungs." As we pass beneath the eagle, I glance up again. This isn't just some relic of history. This place wasn't left behind. It was hidden. "You all right?" I ask him quietly. "Yes," Manny answers. "Yes, for now." I still don't know exactly why he volunteered for this mission. He was the only one who did. The rest of us were assigned, ordered. But Manny? He pulled strings, made calls, convinced the brass he had a part to play because of his background, his work with the decommissioning of Nazi-era sites and places of particular relevance. And what Kim said earlier, that was true too. His grandfather was a high-ranking Nazi official, disappeared without a trace. No record of death, but he worked here, in this very place, at least for a while. That much is confirmed. One of the earliest recon teams found documents, old files, buried deep in the concrete archives. His grandfather's name was among them. "You think we'll find any bodies?" Blaine calls over his shoulder, just a little too loud. His voice echoes off the cold walls. I wince. Rudy doesn't miss a beat. "Hope so," he says with a smirk. "Maybe I'll bring home a shiny Nazi skull for the mantelpiece." We reach the heavy metal double doors at the far end of the hall. Blaine glances around at the group, then leans into one of them, shoulder first. With a groan of rusted hinges, he forces it open just wide enough for us to slip through. We move in formation, sweeping our lights down the corridors that stretch ahead and branch off to either side, dark, narrow arteries that vanish into blackness. "No," Manny says, his voice echoing softly between the cold walls. The reports didn't mention any bodies, Nazi or otherwise. Whatever they were doing here, they didn't stay. So then where did they go? Simon murmurs, slowly arcing his rifle as he steps into a nearby chamber, once maybe a meeting room or briefing space. They couldn't have just disappeared. We might find a body, Kim says. The others turn toward her. A man was killed during the last mission. A soldier. French, I think. Oh yeah, Rudy mutters, rubbing his nose. Freak accident, right? That's the one, Blaine says, nodding. That's actually what I meant earlier. Poor bastard got knocked out cold by a falling pipe, or maybe it was a ceiling panel, hard to say. Either way, he landed face down in a puddle and drowned. When his team found him, they couldn't move the debris. They didn't have the gear. Had to leave him there. And as far as I know, no one's been back down here since. We're the first boots in these corridors in over 10 years. They just left him? Simon asks, frowning. That's cold, inhumane. I don't think they had a choice, Sai, Kim says, nudging him with her elbow. Maybe we'll have to leave you down here. Hey, not funny, he replies, but he laughs all the same. I don't find any of it funny. Truth is, I feel sick. Maybe I'm wrong, but unless the others are hiding it well, I get the sense that only Manny and I really feel the weight of this place, really understand what we're walking through. The others don't seem to have thought it through. Not properly. We're in one of 6 bunkers. This one, the first bunker, is supposedly the most accessible. That's why Command keeps sending people here. But a structure of this scale, this depth, built in secret, abandoned in silence, left to rot in the black at the bottom of the sea, it's hiding something. Something awful. Something terrifying. And I haven't the faintest idea what it is. The air is cold. It crawls across my skin, prickling the exposed flesh as we move forward, deeper into the heart of the complex. I scan from left to right, peering into the dark mouths of open doorways flanking the central corridor. The shadows stretch deep, silent and watchful as we advance. Strategically speaking, a bunker like this would make more sense in the Mediterranean. Shallower waters would have made construction far easier. Somewhere between Italy and Libya, perhaps, prime tactical positioning. But no, the Nazis chose the Atlantic. They went through the effort of building this thing out here in the blackest depths. And for what? Why would they do that? Where did they go? And what exactly did they leave behind? No one speaks. Only the sound of boots against concrete, the slow, rhythmic breathing of my teammates, faint echoes sliding along the walls like fingers. Then, right at the edge of my hearing, a noise rushes faintly down the corridor, quick as a whisper. My pulse jumps, my ears straining. Just the old structure settling, I tell myself, the groan of age and damp. But no, it sounds like whispering, not words, nothing distinct, just the texture of breath, a presence, so faint I can barely be sure it happened at all. I don't mention it, don't want to sound paranoid, but beside me, Kim glances my way. I meet her eyes. She heard it too. Maybe the others did. Up ahead, Blaine pulls his mask up over his nose and mouth. Simon crosses himself. Manny wipes his forehead, slick with sweat now. We continue on. We hit the central room, then split into teams of 2, Blaine says through the fabric of his mask. Search the bunker, regroup once we're done. Murmurs of agreement ripple through the group. We push through another set of doors, smaller than the last, and enter what looks like a lobby. Manny steps forward and unfolds a map. From what we can tell, this hall leads directly toward the core of the facility. But we stop, all at once, brought to a standstill by what we see before us. We stand at the threshold of a wide, high-ceilinged chamber. A dome arches overhead, heavy with silence. The walls are lined, unexpectedly, with plaques and paintings, some covered in grime but still intact. And in the center of the room, long since dry, is a grand fountain. At its heart, a statue, or rather several statues bound as one. I lift my gaze, stunned. The sculpture is immense, Three men carved in solemn stillness, their features ageless, their eyes blank and white. Winding between and around their bodies is a vast serpentine creature, its form fish-like, its jaw open, teeth bared, rising high toward the ceiling. Each of the three men bears a dark, circular symbol upon his forehead, strikingly vivid against the pale stone of their faces. Die Schwartz's son, Manny murmurs, stepping forward. He looks impossibly small next to the Colossus. The Black Sun, Simon echoes, his voice hushed with unease as he stares up at the statue. What's it supposed to mean? Rudy asks, glancing around at the rest of us. And what the hell is this thing anyway? It's not in the damn report. You'd think at least one of the teams would have mentioned seeing something like this. Manny doesn't take his eyes off the towering sculpture. The Black Sun was one of many symbols used by the SS, he says. It has roots in several ancient cultures, but in this context, it was the emblem of Wewelsburg Castle. He turns to face us, his expression grim. The spiritual center of the SS, the dark heart of their occult ambitions, overseen by none other than Heinrich Himmler. Nazi occultists? Rudy repeats, scoffing. He throws out a hand in dismissal. Nah, don't start with the supernatural crap again. We're dealing with real people here. Evil, yeah, but human. He glances back up at the statue, at the blank-eyed figures and the monstrous serpent that coils around them. Well, he adds, faltering, maybe not that ordinary, but you get what I mean. Simon grunts and shakes his head. Not ordinary, and not people. This place is a hollow shell filled with the stink of long-dead vermin. Oh, come on, man, Rudy snaps. We all hate Nazis. You're not special, but open your eyes. He gestures broadly toward the statue. You're not even a little impressed? Or curious, maybe? Simon scoffs and walks away, turning his back to the statue as he continues tracing the edge of the room. I linger a little longer, staring up at the strange centerpiece. Then I drift off along the opposite side, circling left. I come to stand beside Blaine, who is quietly admiring a painting. I join him. There's a small plaque beneath it, commemorating a visit made by Himmler to this bunker in 1941. I glance from the plaque to the painting itself. It's framed in dark, finely carved wood. The colors on the canvas are muted, heavy, grim swirls of black and deep ink-stained blue. Yet despite the absence of brightness, the painting is alive with motion. Powerful, hypnotic, it shows a heaving, violent sea. The waves churn and crash in a frenzy, frothing in gray-white spray as they clash and consume one another. As I stare, I feel something shift in my chest, almost as if I'm there among those waves. And in a way, I am. Down here, buried beneath the Atlantic. On the far left of the painting, barely visible behind the curling storm clouds, a ruined city rises from the water. Dark, silent, drowned. Its jagged silhouette looms like a memory long forgotten, half buried, half watching. Somewhere behind me, I can faintly hear a low conversation between Simon and Kim, but their voices are drowned out, consumed by the deafening silence of the painted sea. The waves crash without sound, yet they roar in my mind. To the far right of the painting stands a lighthouse. Its beacon is not light, but an eye, painted gold, casting a solemn gaze across the storm. A single, unwavering beam stretches from that golden eye, cutting through the chaos, pointing toward the ruined city on the horizon. I lean in closer. The lighthouse is made of bodies, hundreds, maybe thousands, twisted together into a single terrible form. Broken limbs, gaping mouths, tangled spines, all repurposed for some grotesque architecture. It's awful, isn't it? Blaine murmurs beside me, snapping me out of my trance. Yes, I reply after a pause. My gaze drops to the silver tag embedded in the painting's frame. Die 1000. The 1000. Awful, I echo. But still, Blaine grunts. It's a damn fine painting. A beat of silence. Wouldn't hang it in my bloody bedroom, though. I huff out a dry chuckle, and we move on. Our boots hit the concrete with heavy echoing steps. Rudy made a point just now, I say aloud. Blaine turns his head slightly, waiting for me to continue. He said that statue, the whole room, actually, It's not in the reports. Nothing. And yet we've got enormous statues, disturbing art, and symbols of Nazi occultism. This place was supposed to be just a bland, empty lobby. Blaine nods slowly. Seems obvious to me, mate. Despite what someone says, this stuff is interesting. And when people find something interesting, something weird, well, everyone wants a look. He adjusts the rifle on his shoulder. I reckon the recon teams left it out on purpose, didn't want people coming down here. I feel a chill run down my back. And why would they do that? I ask, not expecting an answer. Why keep it quiet? Why leave it all out? Blaine shrugs. Couldn't tell you. There's something wrong with this place, I murmur. Something deeply wrong. And I hate it. Every second we spend down here, I hate it more. He replies. It's been creeping in on me too, worse with every step we take. I nod grimly. We're going to find something terrible down here. Blaine doesn't respond. Leaving the statue and the lifeless fountain behind, we push through another set of doors, stepping into a long, wide corridor flanked by two simpler doors. The others catch up with us quickly. The door on the left bears a plaque, Dare Control Room. The door on the right is unmarked except for one thing, the same black symbol etched into the stone foreheads of the statue's three figures, the black sun. My stomach twists at the sight of it, and a wave of nausea pulses through me. My heart starts to pound, and I roll my shoulders, trying to ease the tension building in my chest. Beside me, Manny lets out a sharp gasp and presses a hand to his temple. The group turns toward him. Manny? Kim says, concerned. Are you all right? He pats her hand reassuringly, then steps away from her, edging closer to the door marked Control Room. I keep seeing. He falters, searching for words. I'm seeing flashes, memories, but they're not mine. He gestures toward the door. There's a man in there, Manny says plainly, glancing back at us. Dead, I believe. He rubs the side of his forehead, thoughtful, and I've changed my mind about something. I no longer think this place is entirely abandoned. He points at the door. A man's last memories are behind that door. Then, without another word, he strides toward it. Manny! Rudy calls out. Wait! But Manny doesn't stop. He reaches for the handle, pulls the door open into the hallway, and shines his flashlight into the dark room beyond. Then he steps inside. We follow. Christ! Blaine mutters as we cross the threshold. Well, Rudy, I think you found your Nazi skull. Why don't you bag it for the mantle? But Rudy says nothing. He just stares. Slumped in a chair against the wall is a skeleton, shrouded in dust and surrounded by rusted tins and long empty cans. The brittle remains are draped in the faded threads of a Nazi uniform. None of this is supposed to be down here, Rudy says at last. His voice is low. Why the hell did Command hide this from us? It's not Command, Blaine replies, echoing what he told me earlier. It's the recon teams. They write the reports. Then why leave this out? Rudy throws his arms up in frustration. This isn't some standard bunker, and we all know that now. Kim ignores him, turning instead to Manny. What is it? She asks gently. Manny crouches beside the skeleton. His eyes shift from the hollow sockets in the skull to a brown leather-bound book resting on the desk nearby. Then to the iron cross stitched to the uniform's chest. A length of chain glints faintly, peeking from the front pocket. Manny reaches for it. Hey, should you really be doing that? Rudy says uneasy. But Manny doesn't stop. He slowly pulls the object free, a golden locket shaped like an oak leaf. He studies it in his hands, turning it over with care. I know this man, he says softly. Kim's brow furrows. What did you mean? His name is Hans, Manny replies. He had a wife and a son. The boy was no older than 11, maybe 12 when his father died. I doubt he stayed that young, mate, Blaine mutters. He nudges the skeleton's boot with his own, dislodging a puff of white dust that hangs in the air like fog. Odds are he grew up to look just like dear old Dad here. Manny gently sets the locket down on the desk, and Kim leans forward, carefully opening it. Inside are two tiny, faded photographs. One shows a square-jawed man with tightly cropped hair, stiff in uniform. Beside him stands a woman in 1930s attire, her face calm but distant. On the opposite side of the locket is a photo of a young boy, presumably their son. Jesus, Rudy mutters, glancing between the locket and Manny. How the hell did you know that? Manny straightens with a soft grunt, his joints creaking as he rises. He picks up the journal lying next to the skeleton and begins to leaf through it with great care. Even if it belonged to a monster, he murmurs, I can't bring myself to handle a book with anything less than respect. It was instilled in me early, respect for the written word. He gently turns to the first page and points at a name scrawled in the upper margin. Hands. Yes, Manny says softly. It's him. Meanwhile, Simon and Blaine have begun searching the room, rummaging through old papers, charts, and forgotten records. Most of it is dull, structural layouts, engineering plans, architectural diagrams. Nothing about the statues in the lobby, nothing about why this place was built. As Kim, Rudy, and I exchange quiet thoughts, and as Manny reads silently from the journal, Simon comes across a letter tucked away on a shelf. He glances over it, then scoffs and gives his head a shake. He slaps the paper down beside the skeletal remains. Here, look at this, he says, tapping his finger against a few lines. Have a read. What is it? Kim asks, leaning over. From the command of the bunker, or so I assume, and it's directed at our good little rat Hans. His voice drips with contempt. It's a promise, Simon continues. A lie, really. They tell him they'll return for him, that once the situation is safe, they'll come back. From where? Blaine asks. Simon shrugs. It doesn't say. And does it matter? Clearly, they never meant it. He sneers, then kicks the skeleton's legs, harder than Blaine had before. The bones shift and sag lower in the chair, a puff of pale dust rising from the collapse. They left him here, Simon mutters. He stayed behind like a good little soldier, doing God knows what while the rest of them ran. And they abandoned him. He died in this fucking chair, alone, forgotten. Then, with a grimace, Simon draws back and delivers a final savage kick to the skeleton's thigh. With a dry, brittle crack, the remains collapse completely, crumbling into a lifeless heap on the floor, a cloud of white dust spiraling up into the still air. For fuck's sake, what'd you do that for? Rudy coughs, waving the dust away from his face. Idiot. Don't speak to me like that, Simon snaps, then turns on his heel and strides out of the room, shaking his head. Manny fans the air in front of his face, squinting as he carefully flips through the journal's brittle pages. Simon's assumption appears to be correct, he says as his eyes move across the text. This man, Hans, was an engineer. His job was to maintain the power systems, to monitor and repair them, and to determine where the energy should be routed. He gestures to a passage near the bottom of a page. You can actually read that? Rudy asks, raising an eyebrow. To be fair, the handwriting is dense and ornate, old German cursive, penned with care. Manny nods. Of course. He taps the section again, and I lean in to follow along as best I can while he explains. Here, he talks about diverting power, how he dislikes how cold the bunker's grown. There are mentions of repairs, ongoing maintenance. What kind of guy was he? Rudy asks after a pause. Kim glances sideways at him. You know, Rudy clarifies. Other than being a Nazi. Manny keeps reading. He was proud, he says finally. Proud of his assignment. Says he volunteered, one of several. He believed in what he was doing. He thought he was serving a higher purpose. The room falls quiet as Manny turns another page. He writes about the loneliness, he continues, but also about his certainty that his comrades would return, that one day he'd be reunited with them. He believed completely in the mission, that he was keeping things ready, that when the time came, he too would see the truth. Until then, he would keep the power running. Wait, hold on, Blaine cuts in. He kept the power on? For what? And for how long? Why the hell was he doing that? He looks around the room, brow furrowed. Is it still on? No one answers. We all feel the weight of the question. That's a good point, Kim adds. Does he ever explain what the power was for? Why the bunker had to stay active? Manny frowns, chewing the inside of his cheek. He flips ahead a few more pages, reading silently. His language gets evasive, Manny says. My guess is he feared the wrong eyes would find the journal. Maybe he thought he'd be punished for writing too much. Nothing concrete, but he trails off, then points to a sentence at the bottom of a paragraph. Even through the swirling cursive, the words stand out with eerie clarity. Die 1000. The 1000, Manny reads aloud. And as he speaks the words, an involuntary shiver travels the length of my spine. I lock eyes with Blaine, cold, unsettled. Manny, I begin, but he's already speaking. He grew angry, Manny mutters, flipping through the journal rapidly now, scanning page after page. Hans? He became impatient, and then ashamed of that impatience, frustrated, anxious. Yes, here he admits it. For the first time, he writes of fear. Real fear. That they won't return for him before his supplies run out. Manny's eyes dart left to right, his voice low but urgent. We say nothing. We just watch. My heartbeat quickens in my chest. Then Manny stops turning pages. He finds the last entry and looks up at us, one by one, as if weighing the weight of what he's about to say. Then he reads aloud. I resent what I have done, and I now question whether I've been made a fool, and whether my superiors were either unable or unwilling to return. It matters not which, it amounts to the same end. And besides, it is too late. This is likely to be my final entry. What could have gone wrong? If, as promised, I was to be part of something truly greater, then I would not have been left here like this. Forgotten, I gave everything to the cause, and now the end is near. I will not see the truth. Perhaps that is my punishment. I once considered Die 1000 to be animals. Perhaps they are, vermin beneath me. But even if that's true, to do what we've done, even to animals, no creature deserves such torment, human or otherwise. I cannot shut the project down, even if doing so would force their return. I don't know what they're facing. I cannot betray them, not now. I've come too far. And so this is the path I have chosen. I will be made accountable for my crimes. If not in this life, then in the next. To shut it down would be to admit it was all for nothing. And I cannot do that. I must do what I still believe is right. The silence afterward is thick and weighty. Manny closes the journal with a dull, final thud and sets it back down on the desk. Die 1000, Kim says softly. What could it be? I have a theory or two. Manny begins, but he's cut off by a sharp voice from the doorway. No need, Manny, Seaman says darkly. He's leaning halfway through the open frame, his expression grim. I think I've found it. He disappears again, and we're quick to follow, leaving the control room behind in haste. We catch up to Simon just as he pushes through the second door, the one marked with the black sun. We step into an enormous chamber, vast and drowned in a strange, flickering light. It glows green, rippling like light cast through deep, moving water. Simon strides to the center of the room, his silhouette stretching long behind him across the floor in the flickering green light. Oh, Kim breathes beside me, her voice shrinking. Oh no, oh no. Her breathing grows shallow and erratic. My eyes widen as I take a hesitant step forward, frozen in the grip of something cold and primal. Blaine curses under his breath. Rudy follows suit, then breaks into a run, hurrying to catch up with Simon. Despite the chill that lingers in the air, Manny is drenched in sweat. I catch him trembling in the corner of my vision, but like all of us, he cannot look away. We're staring at the centerpiece of the chamber, but it isn't a statue. It's a tank, a massive, translucent cube of thick, reinforced glass. The light within it glows a strange refracted green, casting fractured shapes across the walls and over our faces, constantly shifting, like we're underwater ourselves. The structure hums faintly. Pipes creak overhead, and the tank bubbles in low, steady intervals. It's filled, brimmed with some unknown green liquid, And suspended within, drifting like ghosts caught in invisible currents, are hundreds of human bodies, naked, warped, weightless. Their eyes are blank and lifeless, pale green orbs that reflect the tank's eerie glow. Their mouths hang open as if frozen mid-scream or in some final gasp of horror. The liquid, whatever it is, forms bubbles across their skin. Some of the bodies have changed, mutated. Tendrils spill from their backs, curling like jellyfish frills. Others have strange ridges or webbing between their fingers. I stare at the faces behind the glass. It's hard to see clearly, but I get the sense that they're not all the same. Some are old, others young, some male, others female, people from all walks of life. And now here they are, adrift together in the flickering green murk deep beneath the ocean, sealed inside this hellish vault. Die 1000, Manny whispers. The tank hums again, deeper this time. The bodies drift slowly, eerily, caught in endless motion. Of course, it's not water. It can't be. This liquid is something else entirely. I take a step closer, pulse pounding in my ears. I peer into the tank, trying to focus on the faces, on any sign of life or death. But are they truly corpses? I squint harder, feeling nausea roll in my gut. The distortion from the curved glass and the shifting light plays tricks on my mind. They're motionless, but not quite. Their expressions don't shift, their muscles don't move. But I think I see something, an eye twitch, a finger drift, a vein pulse. And then I doubt it. Maybe it was just the light. Maybe it was nothing. Their skin is marbled with dark veins, creeping up their necks and streaking across their faces. The longer I look, the more the image blurs, and my thoughts begin to swirl. Watching them float, so silent, so still, it's disorienting, like staring into something ancient, something wrong. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding and staggered back, one hand rising to press against my forehead, trying to stop the room from spinning. "This is it, right?" Rudy says, turning back to face us, his eyes darting from one face to the next. "This is the 1000. Die 1000. I glance at Blaine beside me, and it's clear from his expression that he's thinking the same thing I am. The painting in the lobby. Rudy runs both hands through his hair and curses under his breath. "I didn't sign up for this, man." Simon raises his weapon and takes a step forward. "Eek," Rudy shouts, panicked as voices rise around us. "Wait!" Manny booms, his voice cutting clean through the rising chaos. Silence holds for a moment, uneasy, tense. Manny's expression tightens, sweat trickles down his face, and he winces, a deep frown etched between his brows. "Everyone, calm down," he says. "We are trained professionals. Act accordingly." "Manny," Kim says, gently reaching for him, but he shakes his head, slowly and firmly, then steps forward, moving toward the tank. "What does it do?" Kim asks aloud, her voice small, breathless. "I mean, what's it for?" "There was a painting," I say, speaking up, "in the hall with the statues. It was called the 1000. It showed a lighthouse made of people staring out over a storm. And a city," Blaine adds, "or ruins. Jagged silhouettes, dark and broken." "There was another painting, same name, on the other side of the lobby," Seaman says, eyes fixed on the tank. A top-down view of ruins arranged in the shape of the black sun, and around it, 6 golden eyes. The eerie green light from the tank shimmers in his glasses, hiding his eyes completely. We reach the nearest wall of the tank. A large metal panel is built into the base, easily taller than any of us, and connected to a web of pattern mechanisms that disappear into the floor. A plaque, black and gold, has been bolted onto the metal surface, faded but still legible. A sepia-tone photograph, a name, a handprint, details written in stiff German script. Manny leans in, then exhales. "It's my grandfather." "Fuck," Rudy mutters. "This is insane." "I can see the resemblance," Blaine says, narrowing his eyes. "Maybe a little," Manny replies, studying the photo. "But I always thought I took more after my mother's side." He raises a hand and presses it to the old handprint. The moment his palm touches it, he recoils with a sharp gasp, staggering back and clutching his head. He breathes heavily, steadying himself, then looks up at the tank with narrowed eyes. This thing, it's an insult to humanity, he says, voice low and trembling. A tumor. Almost every part of me wants to destroy it. He hesitates. But there's something else. What is it? Kim asks, her voice tight. Manny shakes his head slowly. I keep seeing things, flashes, the water, as if I'm in there, among them. I see myself through the glass, just glimpses, just moments. Simon inhales sharply through his teeth. I think we shut this down. I don't care how long this secret's been buried. This is wrong. What are we even talking about here that Manny can see through the eyes of those things in the tank? He takes a shaky breath. Are they alive? His final word echoes off the chamber walls, then vanishes into the low hum of the ancient machinery. Simon clenches his jaw and repeats, firmer this time. I say we shut it down, and I say we shut it down now. He scans our faces, incredulous. The tank was built by Nazis. What more do you need? You think this thing deserves to be preserved? Without waiting for a reply, he turns and strides around the side of the tank, disappearing into the watery shadows cast by its shifting green light. Kim hurries after him. Wait, Simon? Don't you think we should take some time? Try to figure out what it's for? Why they built it? Blaine turns to the rest of us. I think I'll head back for that journal. I couldn't make heads or tails of it, but Manny might have missed something important. But just as he starts to move, Simon's voice rings out again from the gloom. Blaine, he calls. Got another skeleton here. Might be the one you were talking about. We gather our lights and follow, scattered figures drifting in the eerie green glow. When we reach them, Kim and Simon are standing beside another body. This one laid out across the floor in Western military fatigues. The bones have long since settled into place, the uniform stiff with age. We take it in silently. This one's not a Nazi, obviously, Rudy says, crouching. He fingers the collar, then lifts an arm to inspect the sleeve. French, he says. This'll be the guy from the report. Wait, Kim mutters, frowning. No, that can't be right. The report said he was killed by a fallen pipe, didn't it? Drowned in a puddle? Blaine and I exchange a look, then raise our torches. We sweep the area with our beams, some of the light glancing off the high ceiling above. But there's nothing, no sign of broken panels. No loose piping. The floor around the skeleton is clear, undisturbed. There's no debris, no puddle, and no place one could have formed. This guy wasn't killed by falling anything, Rudy says. He adjusts his light, casting it across the skeleton's skull. Illuminated clearly now at the back of the head is a single hole. Small, clean, bullet-sized. Shot in the back of the head. Simon murmurs, his voice low but tightening with fury. He rises abruptly. All right, that's it, he shouts, cutting through the tension. Enough of this ridiculous murder mystery. He points toward the tank. That thing makes me sick, and I'm shutting it down. Now. He shoulders his weapon and storms past the skeleton, back toward the tank with long, determined strides. Wait, hold on, Kim calls after him, reaching for his sleeve. But he shakes her off without breaking pace. Rudy steps in front of Simon, blocking his path. For God's sake, just calm down. What the hell's gotten into you? Got a screw loose or something? Simon snorts, trying to push past him. What would you know of any of this? You don't understand a thing, no matter how much you pretend to. And what the hell's that supposed to mean? Rudy snaps, his voice rising. Blaine quickly moves between them, arms up, trying to diffuse the brewing argument. Tension flares in their voices, echoing through the vast chamber. Manny and I remain by the skeleton. We exchange a glance. There were all kinds of oddities listed on that plaque, Manny says quietly, alongside my grandfather's name and photo. His blood type was recorded, and other metrics. Statistics I can't decipher, but I believe they relate to brain activity, specific regions of the mind. Manny, I say, rubbing at my jaw, be honest with me, do you know what this is? What these bunkers were meant for? He shakes his head slowly. No, but I'm increasingly certain that the people inside the tank are alive, And well, this might sound absurd, but I think the dreams I've been having, these visions, might come from them, from the drifters. Goosebumps ripple down my arms. So what do? I ask. Is Simon right? Do we try to shut it down? I think we have no choice, Manny replies. But how? I press. The man who kept this place running, the engineer, he said even he couldn't shut it off. Manny nods. I believe he was constrained mentally, Oliver, not physically. And we have technology now that the Nazis didn't. Controlled explosives, for example. We can't just blow it up, Manny, I say. We have no idea what's in that tank. If we use too much force and crack the glass. Of course, he interrupts. I'm not a fool, but there's another way. The panels around the base, there's a power source keeping them sealed shut. How do you know? There was light bleeding through the seams, but no keyhole, no screws, no bolts. I think it's magnetic or controlled internally. Either way, there must be a way to open them. So all we need is a way to access the inside. I trail off as something catches my eye. I look again at the skeleton lying at our feet, his posture, his direction. He's not just lying here. He was moving, reaching for something. He wasn't shot randomly. He was headed somewhere, off to the side, toward the pipes along the room's edge. I raise my torch, casting the beam forward, and step carefully around the fallen soldier. I follow the path he never finished, the path he was taking before someone ended his life. Manny follows close beside me, and at the far edge of the room, tucked between two massive pipes and humming softly with a mechanical whir, we find it. A rusted old power box, a generator of some kind. The thing is still alive, barely, and unlike the tank, this machine actually has a door, a real, physical door, locked up tight. I glance at Manny. He gives a small nod, then steps back. I raise my weapon and fire 2 quick, careful shots into the side of the box. The door jerks open with a metallic crack, and the moment echoes through the chamber. The argument behind us cuts off immediately. "The hell are you two doing?" Rudy yells over. A scatter of boots follows, and soon a few of the others join us. "All right, hold on a moment," Manny says, pulling open the fractured door with a loud clank. He peers inside. "I've seen systems like this before, never this exact model, but close enough. Just give me a minute." "We're just shooting things now?" Simon calls from across the hall, still standing beneath the green glow of the tank. "So much for being cautious. Why not just blow the whole damn thing up while we're at it?" "Maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves," Blaine interjects. "Are we seriously talking about destroying the tank? We don't even know what it is. The other recon teams, whatever they saw, clearly decided to bury this. Maybe they had a reason. Maybe we should keep digging first." "We should report this," Kim says. "We need to get out of here. Tell command everything." "Got it," Manny mutters to himself. He makes a decision, then flicks a switch inside the box. One of the cables is unplugged, and with a firm pull, he yanks down on a lever on the right-hand side. The effect is immediate. A deep groan reverberates through the floor, through the walls, through us. The tank's green light flickers, momentarily falters, and then a sound like falling metal echoes through the chamber. We turn just in time to see several large panels drop away from the tank's side, landing with a clattering thud and a puff of dust. "Now," Manny says, wiping grease from his hands, "let's take a look at what we're dealing with. As Blaine suggests, there's more to uncover here. We take this slow, measured. We don't know what we've just exposed, and we should treat every step forward with caution." He looks from Blaine to Kim to Rudy, then finally to me. "We can't rule out reporting everything to command, but there must be a reason why we've never heard a word about any of this. Someone chose to hide it." He breathes deeply. "Now, I have some theories about the people inside the tank." I stop listening. Movement catches my eye, off to the side. A silhouette. Zeman. He's already over by the tank, working quickly, digging into the newly exposed interior, his hands vanishing into the dark space behind the fallen panels. Hurried, focused, determined. Hey, I mutter, then louder. Hey, Simon, what are you doing? He doesn't respond, doesn't even glance back. Instead, he slams something into place, some unseen mechanism, and immediately turns and bolts toward us, sprinting from the side of the tank. Shimon, Kim starts, but is cut off as a sharp, mechanical beeping pierces the air. Simon, she repeats, her voice rising in urgency. What have you done? He comes into the light, the shifting green glow casting ripples across his face, and for a heartbeat, I see him clearly. Eyes wide, fierce, a manic grin stretched across his face. He tilts his head mid-run and presses a finger to the ear closest to the tank, as if listening. Then, an explosion. Loud, sudden, surgical. It slices through the ambient hum and churn of the bunker like a blade. Shards of metal, rubber, and God knows what else erupt from the section Simon had been working on. The tank shudders. The lights flicker. A high-pitched ringing screams in my ears as I push past him, sprinting to the front of the tank. The panel, the one bearing Manny's grandfather's image, the handprint, the data, has been obliterated. Nothing remains but twisted metal and scorched debris. I stare into the hole Simon carved into the tank system. It's not just a machine, not just pipes and gears. It looks wounded. Grinding internals, oozing fluids, ruptured pumps, ooze and grease leaking like blood from a dying creature. And from that torn wound comes the black. Thick, tar-like sludge begins to leak into the tank's glowing liquid. Manny gasps behind me and collapses. Kim rushes to him as the rest of us can only stand and watch in stunned silence. The sludge disperses slowly, spreading out like a poisonous ink in water. The drifting bodies inside the tank, those eerily suspended forms, begin to react. They try to avoid the dark cloud, sluggish and aimless like jellyfish evading light. But one by one, they are overtaken. The tank's color dims, green fades to gray, gray to black. And then they begin to melt. Their forms unravel, orientation lost. They drift into one another, and where they touch, they dissolve. Bits and pieces shear off, drifting downward into the growing darkness at the tank's base. The water fills with fragments, sludge, remains. Then I hear a scream. I turn sharply. Kim is holding Manny, his body racked with violent tremors. Manny? Blaine kneels beside him, gripping his shoulder. Manny! Simon stands nearby. The grin is gone. His face has gone pale, breath shallow and quick. Manny's mouth opens as if to speak, but only a ragged gasp escapes. A clear liquid begins to pour from his ears. At first it's colorless, then gray, then red. It leaks down his face, soaking into his uniform, pooling at his chest before dripping to the concrete. His eyes roll back. The seizures roll back. He slumps shitless. Still. Gone. Just like that. Manny is dead. Manny? Manny? Blaine shakes the dead man's shoulder. Rudy drops to his knees beside him, checking for breath. Nothing. Fuck! Rudy yells, leaping to his feet. What the hell did you do, Simon? What the hell did you do? Simon stammers, shaking his head. No, that's not possible. How could this be connected? You acted too soon, you idiot, Blaine shouts, shoving Simon hard in the chest. Now what the hell are we supposed to do? Manny, I whisper, staring down at my friend's body. One moment he seemed okay, more or less. Now he's just gone. Done. A deep, sickening groan rumbles from the black, sewage-thick tank before us, sending a chill down my spine. I look up, and even through the decay oozing from the tank, I can still see traces of that strange green glow. It lingers faintly above us, reflected in the curves of the old pipes, clinging to the edges of the steel beams and girders overhead. I still see some light, I say quietly. What if there's another tank? Another tank. Rudy sputters. Oliver, Manny is dead. Who gives a damn? We need to get out of here. But I tune him out. My heart's hammering as I walk along the edge of the tank, deeper into the shadows. I ignore the others calling after me, drawn instead to the sliver of green light slipping through a crack in the far wall. The hall stretches further than we thought. The dancing shadows played tricks on our eyes, warping our sense of distance. Hey! A voice calls behind me, footsteps pounding. Hey, it's Blaine. He falls into stride beside me, breathing heavily. "You all right?" he asks. "Sure," I answer, though my head is spinning. "Where are you going?" he asks. I point to the faint green glimmer bleeding through the crack in the wall ahead. "What the?" He sees it now too. "Oh shit, what do you think it is?" "I don't want to think about it," I say, my voice low. "I just need to see. I need to see for myself." Footsteps echo behind us, Rudy's shouting again. But I keep walking through the thickening dark and shifting shadows toward that crack in the back wall. Another door. Doors, doors, doors. I push the door open, and the sharp creak of twisting metal slices through the air like a scream. I step out onto a grated steel walkway, suspended high above a vast shadowy chamber. The floor below stretches endlessly forward. I can't even see where it ends. My boots clatter against the metal as I walk toward the edge. A solid guardrail stands between me and the deadly drop below. I pause, breathing in the cold, stagnant air, and let it out slowly. To my left, embedded deep into the concrete wall and partially hidden behind massive steel beams bracing the ceiling, is a towering stone monolith. It's ancient, cracked, water-damaged, and bearing the weight of countless years. Etched across its surface are strange glyphs and symbols, long forgotten. Whatever this thing is, it predates the bunker by centuries, maybe even millennia. That much is obvious. Was it brought here, or was the bunker built around it? At the very top of the monolith, 6 immense disembodied eyes are carved into the stone. Below them, arranged in a vertical stack like a totem, are several primitive faces, more outlines than features, with hollow eyes and mouths. The only added detail is a set of lines carved near the edges of the eyes. Wrinkles. Crow's feet, maybe. The top face is heavily wrinkled. Beneath it, vein-like carvings, or maybe roots, snake down the stone and connect to the face below. This middle face is sharper, more angular. It has fewer wrinkles. More roots descend again, linking it to the final face at the bottom. The lowest face is round and smooth. No wrinkles at all. Beneath this final face is another set of glyphs, symbols I don't understand, twisted, alien shapes that offer no answers. Blaine steps beside me, placing a hand on the rail. He glances at the monolith with only brief interest. "Jesus," he mutters, eyes moving toward the darkness ahead. Rudy and Simon arrive behind us, breathless. Below, spread out in a grim pattern that stretches into the gloom, are more of those tanks. Huge glass containers glowing green, linked by pipes, all of them humming, all of them alive with movement. Each tank is filled to the brim with drifting, suspended souls. There must be hundreds upon hundreds of these monstrous machines. Maybe even 1,000. Blaine mutters, pointing to a plaque embedded in the control panel to our right. It reads, Die 1000. Die 1000, Rudy echoes softly. So it wasn't about the people in the tanks. He trails off. Simon finishes for him. It was about the tanks. We fall silent. A low, whispering sigh echoes from the rows of tanks, drifting down the hall like a breath from the past. Beneath the plaque, more text, German. I step closer and scan the inscription. Vom Vater zum Sohn, Blut für Blut. I read it aloud, translating as I go. From father to son, blood for blood. I pledge my soul, and I will open the eyes of the souls of my lineage. We will guide the way for the fatherland and our place in eternity. As the final word leaves my mouth, a wave of something unseen passes through me. It's like I can hear the words again, spoken by others, by voices from another time. Men in dark uniforms, faces solemn, proud. Their boots echo across cold stone. They stand tall beneath a trio of statues, shadowed by something vast, something ancient. Leviathan. The vision vanishes as quickly as it came. Silence returns, but it's thick now, heavy with the groans and murmurs of the tanks below. The sound of Die 1000. Simon steps past me, boots clanking against the walkway. He heads toward the console on the right. I spot it immediately, another box, just like the one Manny tampered with, connected to the controls. Simon, stop! Blaine snaps, but Simon doesn't stop. He turns to face us. And I see it. His face is streaked with tears. The air seems to freeze around us. Then, to my horror, he raises his gun. "Please, put your weapons down," he says, voice trembling. "What the hell, Simon?" Blaine starts, adjusting his stance, gripping his weapon tighter. But Simon raises his gun higher and shouts, his voice ringing like a bell through the dark. "Put your weapons down, now! Slow! Any move I think is threatening, and I will shoot." Rudy steps forward. "Simon, what the hell are you doing? Just click." Simon cocks the gun and swings it toward Rudy. "Put them down. I won't ask again." Rudy stiffens, curses under his breath. But then slowly he complies, carefully unstrapping his weapon and lowering it to the floor. Simon doesn't blink. He watches every move. Simon gestures to Blaine, then to me. We follow Rudy's lead. One by one, we set our weapons down. "I'm sorry," Simon whispers. Then, stepping forward, he uses his boot to sweep our guns off the edge of the platform. They clatter against the far concrete below, lost to the shadows. "What the fuck is wrong with you, Simon?" Blaine growls. "You couldn't have known what you did would kill Manny. You acted reckless, really reckless, but that's not the same as murder. You need to stop. We all need to stop, breathe, think." He takes a step closer, voice steady now. "We're dealing with something way beyond what we were trained for. Something none of us understand. You're not thinking straight, mate. I have to shut this thing down. Now," Simon says, voice flat but intense. "I understand that this is something I have to do. Die 1000. I need to end it. All of it." Rudy tries to interrupt, but Simon barrels over him, words spilling fast. "They're alive in those tanks," he says, pushing his glasses up with a trembling hand. "They're alive. Manny was connected to them, right? He could see their dreams. He was tied to the tank by the sins of his grandfather. His entire bloodline cursed. And that's not on me. It's not. It's theirs." He flings a hand toward the bunker around us, eyes wide. He wipes his forehead, frantic, and out of the corner of my eye, I catch a subtle movement from Rudy. I don't turn my head, just shift my gaze. Following Rudy's eyes, I spot it. A pistol, still holstered at the small of his back, just out of Simon's view. Rudy gives me a pointed look. I nod, barely perceptible. "Don't do anything stupid," I try to say with my eyes. Whether he reads it or not, I don't know. Simon keeps talking, the words coming faster. "These tanks were built by Nazis. For what? Some horrible purpose, that much is clear. There's nothing good in this place. No salvation. These people, these souls, they're trapped. I know it. Suffering, endlessly. So the tanks, these cages, they have to be shut down. Now. That's what I'm gonna do." He gestures to the nearby console. I looked in the box, the one Manny disconnected. I understand enough. I can finish this. "Simon," I say, lifting my head, trying to steady my voice. "You said it yourself. That tank was connected to Manny. But these connections, this system, it's not just wires and fluid." A wave of images crashes through my mind. The 3 statues, the black sun, the warped painting in the main hall. A city ruined beneath black waves. The shining eye. I glance at the monolith embedded in the wall, at the root-like carvings connecting the carved faces, flowing from one to the next like blood through generations. I recite the inscription again. From father to son, blood for blood. I pledge my soul, and I will open the eyes of the souls of my lineage. We will guide the way for the fatherland and our place in eternity. My mouth is dry as ash, but I press on. "Simon, what if what you did killed Manny's son too, or his brother? What about cousins, distant relatives? How far does this thing reach?" And even as I speak, a cold, unspeakable thought drills down into my chest. I think of Nina, my wife, and I think of her heritage. Nina's great-grandfather, he worked alongside Manny. Was he part of this? Was he too involved in the creation of these tanks? I turn my eyes toward the railing and look down at the rows of glowing containers below. Is his picture etched into one of them? Alongside a handprint, a blood sample, and who knows what else? A chill moves through me. I feel the color drain from my face. My thoughts collapse into silence, my voice lost before I can speak. Simon scoffs. "What are a few lives weighed against this, Oliver?" he shouts. "This is sickness. This is the work of rats." Blaine tries to reason with him. "Just don't be rash, Simon. The previous recon teams, they didn't report this place, remember? They didn't touch the tanks. There's got to be a reason. Maybe we should take a moment. Just talk together." Simon's voice cracks. "Don't you get it, Blaine?" he chokes. "That's exactly the problem." He mutters something under his breath in Polish, then rubs his eyes beneath his glasses. "If I hesitate, if I stop to think, I might change my mind. I might get talked out of doing what's right. If every single team that came here before us left these tanks untouched, then logic says we'll do the same, yeah?" His voice trembles. "Right?" He breathes heavily. "But I can't. I just can't. It's not right. So I have to end it, now, before something inside me tells me not to. Once it's done, it's done." He starts pacing, muttering, gesturing wildly. Then suddenly, he spits over the railing and shouts, his voice shaking the air. "Whatever this is, whatever it was for, it's over. It ends here." He whirls around, storms toward the master console. Gunshots. He fires several rounds into the control box. Metal screams as he rips the panel door free from its hinges. "Simon, wait!" Blaine shouts, the sound reverberating through the massive chamber, and then a crack. One final sharp burst, a flash of fire. A bullet tears through the back of Simon's skull. I swear and flinch as blood bursts from his forehead, spraying across the console in a thick, dark cloud. He drops. Like a puppet with its strings cut, he collapses forward. His body slumps over the controls, slides to the floor, and lies still. Blood pools across the metal grating, spreading, dripping steadily through the gaps and into the darkness below. My chest heaves. Adrenaline pounds through me. I whip around to Rudy, stunned, half expecting him to be holding the smoking gun. But his pistol is still in its holster. His hand hovers near it, ready but unmoved. He stares at me, then he looks past me, and I turn, slowly, to see what he sees. And there in the doorway stands Kim. She's motionless, silent, her figure bathed in that ghostly green light. Her jaw is tight, her eyes blazing. In her hand, she holds her rifle, raised, ready. Then slowly she lowers it. A long breath escapes her lips, misting into the cold air as it curls around her face. We return to the main lobby in solemn silence. There is a sickness in this place. That much is certain. Our thoughts feel clouded, like we're all moving through some kind of fog. Nothing feels quite real. We deliberate for an hour. It's as long as any of us can endure, surrounded by the weight of this place, in the shadow of something ancient and vile. In the end, we make our choice. As a group, we decide to leave Die 1000 intact. Whether that makes us heroes, villains, or something else entirely, we can't say. We simply don't know how deep the tank's connections run. To the people back home, to bloodlines we can't trace, to systems we don't understand. It's not a decision I'm proud of. We don't know the true purpose these machines serve. We have only fragments, half-truths, cryptic hints, and myths buried beneath decades of silence. We don't know why the tanks were built. We don't know what happened to the Nazis who ran this place. We don't know where they went or how we'd even begin to find them. But we do know one thing. Manny and Simon died in the same way as that fallen French soldier. The report will say it was an accident, both crushed by debris. Tragic, unavoidable, because we can't risk command learning the truth. If they do, they'll send in task forces, scientists, maybe worse. And when that happens, the power will be taken out of our hands. We'll have no control over what comes next. And what comes next could be monstrous. So our official report will say the bunker is unstable, hazardous, dangerous to investigate. We'll recommend it be sealed, avoided, no further recon needed. Nothing of interest found, let it be forgotten. We return to the submarine dock in silence. No one speaks. For me, it all comes down to one truth. I can't risk losing Nina. So the machines will remain, and the 1000 will continue to drift, forever hidden in the dark, far below the sea.